Chuck Lorre's TV franchise is expanding with Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, a show that sits in the middle of the events of young Sheldon and the Big Bang Theory. Spearheaded by Montana Jordan and Emily Osment, the new sitcom will shift its focus away from Sheldon and to his older brother, Georgie, as he navigates his new life as a husband and father. Born out of young Sheldon's best original plot, Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage will be the universe's first pure family installment, which is exciting, especially after how the Cooper's family story was handled in its predecessor. While it started as an attempt to capitalize on Sheldon's popularity, it has become a proper ensemble show by young Sheldon's finale. All members of the Coopers had their respective personal arcs, and occasionally, some of them were even more compelling than what the boy genius had to tackle. This inspired Georgie and Mandy's new show, which will see the McAllisters be the extended cast members. Unlike young Sheldon, barely anything is known about how the story of Georgie and Mandy's first marriage, but where it fits in the overall timeline offers clues as to what to expect. Georgie and Mandy's first marriage takes place between young Sheldon and the Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory is moving away from Sheldon. In the grand scheme of the franchise's timeline, the events of Georgie and Mandy's first marriage take place at an unexplored point in its history. It sits between young Sheldon and the Big Bang Theory, which is why it can get away with limited or no involvement with Ian Armitage's Sheldon, as well as his eventual friends in California, such as Leonard, Penny, and the rest of the Pasadena gang. This is one of the reasons why Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage is such an exciting addition to the Big Bang Theory universe. While young Sheldon was ultimately greenlit because of its ties to the nerd-centric sitcom, it was also the very reason for some of its biggest issues. The prequel could not follow canon all the time, so plot inconsistencies were created. Meanwhile, in an attempt to preserve continuity, young Sheldon was forced to end with just 7 seasons. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage has more creative room to grow. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage premiere picks up 2 months after George's death in young Sheldon. There's a brief but important break between young Sheldon and Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage. More specifically, Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage picks up a couple of months after George died in young Sheldon. This makes it a true follow-up series, since there's barely any separation between the shows. However, the break is necessary to allow the new show to stand on its own without being bogged down by questions about the events of its predecessors. This is particularly important because, as beloved as it was, the young Sheldon finale left several questions about the fate of some characters, such as Missy and Mima. The great thing is that Missy, Mima, and Mary will appear in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage. Admittedly, it is disappointing that Georgie's remaining Texas-based relatives won't have a bigger presence. That said, they will still appear from time to time. Meanwhile, no word yet on when Ian Armitage's Sheldon will finally return on the small screen via the Young Sheldon sequel series. It's trickier to feature the boy genius because he's in Pasadena, California for his postgraduate studies. This means that Sheldon can only be involved in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage when he's back in Medford. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1 is 13 years away from the events of the Big Bang Theory. Sheldon hasn't met Leonard and the Pasadena gang yet. Young Sheldon's finale is in 1994, which means that Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1 is also set in the same year. Given this, it would still be around 13 years since Sheldon and Leonard met Penny in the Big Bang Theory pilot, which was in 2007. When Sheldon moved to Pasadena, it wouldn't be until a decade later that Leonard would knock on his door and become his roommate. Despite being in the same reality, Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage will not reference anything that happened in the Big Bang Theory, at least in its earlier seasons. As for Georgie's particular arc, Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage didn't introduce Sheldon's older brother until his wedding to Amy in the Big Bang Theory Season 11, which took place in 2018. Because of this, Jordan's version of the character still has more than 2 decades to go before he transforms into Jerry O'Connell's iteration of George and Mary's firstborn. Because of that, the Young Sheldon sequel has ample time to tackle his and Mandy's story, which includes the beginning of his tire business and their inevitable split.